Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Asif Ali Syed from the Department of Business Administration, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. Today, we shall be discussing about the module Stress Management of the paper Skill Development and Social Entrepreneurship. After completing this module, the students will be able to understand the concept of stress and its management in business organizations. They would also get familiar with the dimensions of stress management skills which are required to handle the different type of organizational stresses. Introduction to stress management. Theoretical foundation stress can be defined as perceived force or stimuli impinging upon the individual which may create demands on the individual. It suggests a mismatch between an individual's capabilities and his or her work environment in which either excessive demands are made from the individual or the individual is not fully equipped to handle a particular work situation. Causes of stress. Stress is caused by many different things, from physical such as fear of something dangerous to emotional such as worry over your family or job. Identifying the cause of stress is often the first step in learning how to better deal with your stress. Some of the common sources of stress are survival stress. The phrase fight or flight is a common response to danger in all people and animals. When you are afraid that someone or something may physically hurt you, your body naturally responds with a burst of energy so that you will be better able to survive the dangerous situation, that is fight, or escape it altogether, flight. The second one is internal stress. Internal stress is when people make themselves stressed. This often happens when we worry about things we can't control or put ourselves in situations we know we will cause us stress. Some people become addicted to this kind of hurried, tensed lifestyle that results from being under stress. They even look for stressful situations and feel stressed about things that they are not really stressful. Environmental stress. This is in response to things around you that cause stress such as noise, crowding and pressure from your work or family. Identifying these environmental stresses and learning to avoid them or deal with them will help lower stress levels. Fatigue and overwork. This type of stress builds up over a long time and can take a hard toll on your body. It can be caused by working too much or too hard on your jobs, at school or home. It can also be caused by not knowing how to manage your time well or how to take time out for rest and relaxation. This can be one of the hardest kind of stress to avoid because many people feel this is out of their control. Stress and environmental challenge. People use the term stress in a number of different ways. Some people use the term to describe particular sort of events or environmental conditions. For example, fans might speculate that a professional football coach's heart attack was caused by the pressure of his profession. Other examples might include receiving a failing grade on a physics exam or arriving noticeably late on an important meeting or playing a sudden death overtime in hockey. We would acknowledge, for example, that walking in late to a meeting could be very embarrassing, that is stressful. Likewise, for working at the service counter of a major departmental store on the day after Christmas is a stressful job. In each of these instances, stress refers to characteristics of environment, but people also use the term in quite a different way. Sometimes it refers to the effects of the environment. The phrase, "I am feeling a lot of stress," might refer to various symptoms a person is experiencing, such as muscular tension or difficulty in concentrating. Before we proceed further, therefore, it will be useful to agree upon some conventionals of the terminology. We will define stress as a whole process by which we appraise and respond to events that challenge or threaten us, as stated by Myers in 1989. These responses usually include increased levels of emotional arousal and changes in physiological symptoms such as increasing in perspiration and heart rate, cholesterol levels or blood pressure. Stress often occurs in situations that are overly complex, demanding, or unclear. Stressors are those specific characteristics in individuals, tasks, organizational, as well as environmental that pose some degree of threat or challenge to people. Although all the factors improbably have an adverse impact on people, the degree of stress associated with each of them depends on one's overall level of stress tolerance and previous experience with the stressors in question, as quoted by Benner in 1984. Similarly, it is important to realize that stress is in the eye of the beholder. What one person might see as challenging and potentially rewarding, another might see as threatening and distressful. Guidelines for effective stress management. 1. Monitor your own and your followers' stress levels. One of the most important steps in managing stress is to monitor your own and your followers' stress levels. Although this seems straightforward, a seemingly paradoxical fact about stress is that it often takes a toll without one's conscious awareness. A person experiencing excessive stress may manifest various symptoms apparent to everyone but him or her. For that reason, it is useful to develop a habit of regularly attending to some of the warning signs that your stress level may be getting too high. Second thing is identifying what is causing the stress. Monitor your stress, and its monitoring will reduce the chances that it will build up to an unhealthy level before you can take action. But monitoring is not enough. Leaders also need to identify what is the cause of stress. It may seem at first that the cause of stress obviously will always not be obvious, but that is not true. Sometimes the problems are clear enough even if the solutions are not. Example, family, finances, or working in a job with a high workload and lots of deadlines. At other times, however, it may be difficult to identify the root problem. For example, a coach may attribute his anger to the losing record of his team, not recognizing that a bigger cause of his emotional distress may be the problem he may be having at home with his teenage son. A worker may feel frustrated because her boss overloads her with work, not realizing that her own unassertiveness keeps her from expressing her feelings to her boss. Problem solving can be applied constructively to managing stress, but only if the problem is identified properly in the first place. Once the problem is identified, then a plan for minimizing stress or the effects of the stressors can be developed. The third important thing is practicing a healthy lifestyle. Now, practicing a healthy lifestyle is one of the best ways to minimize stress. There are no substitute for a balanced nutrition, regular exercise, adequate sleep, abstention from tobacco products, and drinking only a moderate amount, if at all, as keys to a healthy life. A long-term study of the lifestyle of around 7,000 adults confirmed that these are independent factors contributing to wellness and the absence of stress symptoms. It was a study done by Wiley and Camacho in 1980. Insufficient sleep saps energy, interferes with alertness and judgment, increases irritability, and lowers resistance to illness. Exercise, besides being a valuable part of any long-term health strategy, is also an excellent way to reduce tension. Learn how to relax, the fourth important aspect. Believe it or not, some people just do not know how to relax. Although physical exercise is a good relaxation technique, sometimes you will need to relax but not have an opportunity to get a workout. Having practiced other relaxation techniques will come in handy when the situation prevents strenuous exercise. Also, of course, some people simply prefer alternate relaxation techniques to exercise. Deep breathing techniques, progressive muscle relaxation, and thinking of calming words and images can be powerful on-the-spot calming techniques to reduce arousal levels. They are applicable in strenuous and stressful situations, ranging from job interviews to sports. The effectiveness of these techniques is somewhat a matter of personal preferences, and no single one is best for all purposes or for all people. The fifth is developing supportive relationships. Another powerful antidote to stress is having a network of close and supportive relationship with others, as is quoted by Berkman and Sim 1979. People who have close ties to others through marriage, church, membership, or other groups tend to be healthier than those with weaker social ties. Also, social support of various kind, example, supportiveness of one's spouse, co-worker or boss, can buffer the impact of a job stress. This was reported by the studies by Cummings in 1990, Jairatne, Himmel and Chess in 1988. And unit cohesion is believed to be the critical element of a soldier's ability to withstand even the extreme physical and psychological stresses of a combat. Leaders can play a constructive role in developing mutual supportiveness and cohesiveness among subordinates, and their own open and frank communication with subordinates is especially important when a situation is ambiguous as well as stressful. The sixth thing is keeping things in perspective. As we noted earlier, the stressfulness of any event depends partly on the way one interprets it, not just on the event itself. For example, a poor grade on an examination may be more stressful for one student than another, just as a rebuke from a boss may be more stressful for one worker than the other. This is partly due, of course, of the fact individuals invest themselves in activities to engage degrees because they value different things. A problem in an area of heavy personal investment is more stressful than one in an area of little personal investment. It goes deeper than that. However, managing stress effectively depends on keeping things in perspective. This is difficult for some people because they have a style of interpreting events that aggravate their felt stress. Individuals who have relatively complex self-concept as measured by the number of the different ways they describe or see themselves are less susceptible to common stress-related complaints than are people with lesser degrees of self-complexity. Take, for example, someone who has suffered a setback at work, such as having lost out to a colleague for a desired promotion. Someone low in self-complexity, example, a person who has self-concept which is defined solely as a personal of professional success, could be devastated by the event. Low self-complexity implies a lack of resilience to the threat of one's ego. Consider, on the other hand, someone with a high self-complexity facing the same setback. The person could understandably feel disappointed and feel dejected about work, but if she were high in self-complexity, then the event's impact would be buffered by the existence of a relatively uncontaminated areas of positive self-image. For example, she might base her feelings of professional success on more criteria than just getting or not getting a promotion. Other criteria, such as being highly respected by peers, may be even more important basis for her feelings of professional success. Furthermore, other dimensions of her life, example her leadership in the local Democratic Party, support of a family, may provide more areas of positive self-image. The ABC model. Unfortunately, because there are no shortcuts to developing self-complexity, it is not really a visible and a viable stress management strategy. There are other cognitive approaches to stress management, however, that can produce more immediate results. These approaches have the common goal of changing a person's self-talk about stressful events. One of the simplest of these to apply is called the ABC model, which was developed by Ellis and Harper 1975, Steinmetz, Blankenship, Brown, Miller and Hall in 1980. To appreciate the usefulness of the ABC model, it is helpful to consider the chain of events that precedes feelings of stress. Sometimes people think of this as a two-step sequence. Something external happens, that is stressful event, and then something internal follows, that is symptoms of stress. We can depict the sequence like this. A. Triggering event, example, knocking your boss's coffee onto his lap. C. Feelings and behavior, that is anxiety, fear, embarrassment and perspiration. In other words, many people think their feelings and behaviors result deeply from external events, such as a view however, leave out a entire critical role played by our thoughts or self-talk. The actual sequence looks like this. A. Triggering events. Knocking your boss's coffee onto his lap. B. Your thinking. He must think I'm a real jerk. C. Feelings and behavior. Anxiety, fear, embarrassment and perception. From this perspective, you can see the casual role played by the inner dialogue or self-talk is contributing to the feeling of stress. Such inner dialogues can be rational or irrational, constructive or destructive, and which it will be is under the individual's control. People gain considerable freedom from stress when they realize that by changing their own self-talk, they can control their emotional experiences and responses to events around them. Considering a different sequence from our scenario, A. Triggering event, knocking your boss's coffee onto his lap. B. Your thinking, darn it, but it was just an accident. C. Feeling and behavior, apologizing and helping clean up. Thus, a particular incident can be interpreted in several different ways, some likely to increase feelings of stress and distress, and others likely to maintain self-esteem and positive coping. You will become better at coping with stress as you practice listening to your inner dialogue and changing destructive self-talk to constructive self-talk. Even this is not a simple change to make. However, changing self-talk is more difficult than you might think, especially in emotionalized situations, because self-talk is covert, spontaneous, fleeting and reflexing. Thus, it is like any bad habit that can be difficult to change. Nevertheless, precisely because self-talk is just a habit and you can change it. Finally, leaders need to recognize their role in their followers' stress level. A leader in a stressful situation who is visibly manifesting some of these stressful symptoms is not going to get much of an example for followers. On the contrary, because followers look to leaders for guidance and support, these behaviors and symptoms could become contagious and may serve to increase followers' stress level. Leaders need to recognize the importance of role modeling in reducing or increasing followers' stress levels. Leaders also need to make sure their styles of interacting with subordinates does not make them leaders' stress carriers. Let us summarize the stress management skills. Stress can be defined as perceived forces or stimuli impinging upon the individual which may create demand on the individual. Stress is caused by many different things, from physical such as fear or something dangerous to emotional such as worry over your family or job. Stressors are those specific characteristics in individuals, tasks, organizations or the environment that pose some degree of challenge or threat to the people. Although all the factors is probably an adverse impact on people, the degree of stress associated with each of them depends on one's overall level of stress tolerance and previous experience with the stressors in question. Practicing a healthy lifestyle is one of the best ways to minimize stress. Finally, leaders need to recognize their role in their followers' stress levels. Thank you.